Well, welcome. I'm Tom Gamble, and I am the owner of Source-Napa. The reason for the name is somewhat evident, but Source refers to where I'm from, Napa Valley, born and raised, and also my friend Bill Davies, whom we met the first day of nursery school actually in Napa Valley. The photo on the label of Source-Napa was taken 2 years after that day we met. Source represents the land that we love, where our grapes are from, and it is our home. We're very concerned about how we live and live our lives. We do farm organically. We believe that that makes a better quality grape, and we believe that it also has certain health aspects to the soils. The reason this is a great place for Sauvignon Blanc is we're sandwiched between two rivers, the Napa River and Con Creek. And over time, much like many river bottom areas, soil has gathered, and it's actually a rich place, great for white wine grapes. Choosing Sauvignon Blanc, as we have here, we chose it because it's a great climate. We have 2 clones of Sauvignon Blanc that we make the Gamble Vineyard out of, a Sauvignon Musqué, which has its clonal parentage in the Loire Valley, and a white Bordeaux clone that was first brought to the United States by a private individual in the 1950s, and I was able to get my paws on it and plant it over here. This vineyard was planted in 1998, and it's 2007 right now.
I'm Jim Close, winemaker with Source-Napa. I haven't been in the valley quite as long as Tom here, but I arrived in 2000, loved it, didn't go home, and I've been working with Tom since 2003. The idea of this is, making a Sauvignon Blanc that's a California Sauvignon Blanc. We're not trying to imitate another style. So this wine, to me, it's very complex and just fills the mouth texturally, but on flavors, I'm getting a bit of citrus. I'm getting, some people say pineapple, but it's not pineapple, but it's a tropical fruit expression as well, combined with those citrus fruit expressions that you often get in New Zealand style wine. I taste a minerality in essence in it, and that comes from the acidity, I think, and all this complexity. We do all this work to try to capture what we believe is terroir, what's unique to this little site surrounded on both sides by 2 rivers. And whatever God or nature has done to that place over the eons, we're trying to capture it in this glass and make it very enjoyable. And I think the bottom line is we've through growing the grapes, making the wine, we've done the best to make a very good Sauvignon Blanc. So please try it and tell us what you think about it, because that's where we get most of our information, is from the feedback from everyone who's tasting it, and tell us if we're getting it right or getting it wrong. And what flavor would you like to see in the Sauvignon Blanc next year?
It's not, we don't get it from a can. And this is family home, and it's where I grew up. I grew up with the surrounding vineyards. This wasn't planted on the hilltop here until about 97. It serves a greater purpose as a really great Cabernet site. There are subtle climate differences and also geographic differences, particularly with this site. We're on a knoll top here versus being on the valley floor between 2 rivers. The soil down here is, on this knoll top, is much weaker, making it very appropriate for Cabernet grapes, which we have growing here. Again, the harvest is over. There's a little bit of second crop still in here, but you can also see that we do a lot of work to thin the crop and reduce the yield so we get more intense flavor. So we just drop the extra grapes on the ground and allow them to be reincorporated into the soil. But the soil here it's just rained, so it's moist, but it's much more friable, meaning it has a lot less clay in it than over at the Gamble Vineyard. It absorbs water, and the water goes down to deeper levels much faster than in Gamble Vineyard. We have our Cabernet planted on our lighter soils. You can also see, because we have lighter soils, we have made the decision to have our vines at a smaller height because there's less soil to grow the vine. So we're again looking for that balance of vine to fruit and looking for that 3 feet of canopy before it shuts down. Someone asked, what do we do with these vertical trellis systems, which have a lot of pros going from them. One of the cons is that in a relatively warm climate like California's Napa Valley, you can get too much sunlight on the grapes and they can get burned. But what we can do is, you can see how we have a nice vertical plane here. If we need to create a little shade, we come and we unhook these wires, and you see how the vines just fall down, and that gives a little afternoon shade to the grapes that are exposed to the afternoon sun, and just like we want to get indoors sometime from the afternoon sun so we don't sunburn. So that's how we address that issue. And it gives us, by having these flexible trellis systems, it gives us a lot more flexibility to deal with variations in the weather. If it's a cool year like this year, we're more likely to have had these things up. If it was more like '04 or '05, we're more likely to have it down like this. We're blenders of wine. Our first red wine that we made was the Paramount red wine. It is a red blend. It is Cabernet Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. And why do we do this? It adds complexity. And again, that's one of the real thrills of wine, is to try to tease it apart and understand all the complexities, or not. Just allow it to overwhelm you as you drink it, and just enjoy it and marvel at it on a more emotional basis versus an intellectual nitpicking basis.
Winemaking philosophy for red wine and our house style is to make a wine that is balanced, that is has a firm acid structure, firm tannins, moderate alcohol, well flavored. I mean, good fruit flavors, different levels of things going on. So you go back to it and you smell and taste something else than you did the first time. I have a huge luxury being able to make the Paramount blend. It means it gives me such freedom to make a wine that's hopefully better than any of the wines individually. You know, I really want to make something, put wines together that complement each other, and make a wine that is increased in complexity and that will be the best wine, the Paramount wine that we can make in that particular year. So that's my goal with the Paramount wine.